The last 48 hours, Chelsea Football Club has been at the centre of one of the most turbulent news cycles of this entire season. We are talking about a historic defensive collapse, a manager fighting to keep his job, a star player hinting at the exit door, and a club now scrambling to hold everything together. So let us not waste any time. Let us get straight into it. Here is where we begin. Here is the fact that sets the tone for everything else we are going to discuss today. Opta Joe confirmed the following, and I am going to read this to you exactly as it was stated. Chelsea have conceded 8 goals across a competitive two-legged tie, domestic and European, for the first time in their history. Breached, end quote. Let that sit with you for a moment. 8 goals, 2 legs, for the first time in their entire history. This is not just a bad result. This is a record that Chelsea Football Club should never want in their name. And yet here we are. The analysis on this is straightforward. When a club of Chelsea's size, budget and stated ambition concedes 8 goals across 2 matches against a single opponent, it is not a matter of one bad night. It is a systemic failure. It speaks to defensive organisation, to mental resilience and to the tactical gaps that have been visible in this squad for several weeks now. And the reaction from inside the football world was immediate. Club legend John Terry did not hold back. Here is exactly what he said. Against any team, you cannot lose 8-2 over 2 legs. I am sorry you cannot. I do not care who you are, what team you are. You cannot lose 8-2. So really frustrating, end quote. This is John Terry, a man who won 5 Premier League titles and a Champions League with this club. A man who understands what the Chelsea standard looks like. And even he could not find a way to soften the blow. The analysis here is important. Terry's words reflect the broader feeling among supporters and football people who care about Chelsea. This was not a close contest that went wrong at the end. This was an 8-2 aggregate defeat. And when figures of that stature speak with that level of frustration, it tells you everything about the magnitude of what just happened. Now, while the statistics tell you the scale of the failure, the atmosphere inside Stamford Bridge tells you the emotional reality of what Chelsea supporters are living through right now. Former Arsenal and France international Julien Lauren was watching closely, and here is exactly what he said about the night. Very disappointing from a Chelsea perspective. The fans were not happy and you could feel the tension. Some of them left after the hour when Rosenior, at 2-0 down, decided to take off Enzo Fernandez, João Pedro and Cole Palmer, his 3 best players. The fans had seen enough, end quote. This is a critical observation. Think about what that moment represents. At 2-0 down, needing a miracle to stay in the competition, the manager chose to substitute his 3 most influential players simultaneously, and the response from the supporters was to walk out. The analysis is not about judging whether those substitutions were right or wrong in isolation. The analysis is about what that moment communicated to the supporters who were there. It communicated in the clearest possible way that the night was over, that the manager had moved on from trying to win. And for a fan base already carrying the weight of weeks of disappointing results, that was the final moment that broke the patience in the stadium. When paying supporters leave a match before the final whistle, they are sending a message. And that message was received loudly. Now, if you want deeper analysis on stories like this, and if you want to be here every time Chelsea news breaks with real insight and real perspective, hit that subscribe button right now, because we are just getting started and this story gets more complicated from here. After the match, Rosenior faced the media and he addressed several key topics directly. Let me take you through what he said and what it means. First, on the overall situation and what remains of the season. Rosenior said the following, quote, "We know we need to put things right. You cannot quantify damage until you are at the end of the season. What we have 8 huge games left in the Premier League, plus a cup competition that we want to win. So we are still in a place where we can affect things in a positive way." End quote. The analysis here is measured. Rosenior is doing what any manager in that situation needs to do. He is not collapsing. He is not making excuses. He is redirecting focus toward what is still achievable, 8 Premier League games and the FA Cup. That is still a meaningful end to a season. And the way he frames it, choosing to focus on what can still be won rather than what has been lost, is the correct professional response. But there is also a tension in those words because the damage has been done in the Champions League. And the question of whether 8 games and a cup run is enough to save his job is one that hangs over everything. On the subject of Champions League qualification going forward, Rosenior was even more direct. It makes your recruitment, your planning, it makes everything clear. This club deserves to be in the Champions League. It is as simple as that. That is our target. It is about making sure we win the next game and stay on track. End quote. This is important. Rosenior is publicly stating that Champions League qualification is the target. He is not hiding from that standard. He is not managing expectations downward. He is saying the club belongs in that competition and that the goal now is to get back there through the league. The analysis is this: that statement is also effectively the benchmark by which his own work will be judged. If Chelsea do not qualify for the Champions League through the Premier League, then the season, by his own declared standard, will have fallen short. Now let us move through some of the other significant moments from Rosenior's press conference, because there were several things worth understanding. The viral moment of the match, apart from the goals conceded, was Rosenior handing a written note to Garnacho during the game. The Athletic attempted to read the note from photographs. The club media and supporters were curious. Rosenior addressed it directly. He said the following, quote, "In that moment, we have just gone down to 10 men. I needed to change the system. I needed Moises Caicedo to go to right back." And rather than me scream and shout above a lot of people in the stadium, the best thing to do is to show him and get the note across to him, end quote. The analysis here is straightforward. This was a tactical communication decision in a high-pressure moment. Going down to 10 men requires immediate structural adjustment. The fact that Rosenior used a written note rather than trying to shout instructions across a loud stadium is actually a practical and intelligent approach to game management. There is nothing controversial in that decision once he explains it. Then there was the question of the team leaks. Information had been coming out from inside the Chelsea camp that should not have been public. This is a sensitive issue for any football club, and Rosenior addressed it with careful words. "We know it has not come from any place of malicious intent to me or the team. We have dealt with the situation," end quote. The analysis on this is significant. He is saying two things at once. One, the source of the leaks has been identified. Two, the intent was not to cause harm. By saying they have dealt with it, he is drawing a line under it publicly without going into details. This is the correct way to handle an internal matter in a public setting. But the fact that leaks were happening at all in a moment of crisis for the club adds to the picture of a squad environment that is under pressure. On the subject of young defender Mamadou Sarr, who made a costly error in the match, Rosenior was protective and genuinely encouraging. "We all make mistakes. You have to make sure you learn from them." And that is where Mamadou is in his career. And if he learns from his mistakes, he is going to be, honestly, it is so exciting what he can become as a player, end quote. He also added that he has worked with Sarr for nearly 2 years, that Sarr trained well after the match, and that going through difficult experiences is part of becoming the player he can be. The analysis here is about man management. Rosenior is publicly backing a young player at the lowest moment of that player's recent career. That is important. Young players need that protection. And the way Rosenior speaks about Sarr suggests a genuine belief in his potential rather than just public relations language. On Levi Colwill's return from an ACL injury, Rosenior was honest and careful. With an ACL recovery, he is hitting all the benchmarks he needs to, but we need to keep making sure he is going past certain levels. It is brilliant to have his presence back on the training pitch, and while we want to see him back out there on the pitch as soon as possible, it has to be within the right time frame. He is still looking at a good while before returning to first-team action yet. Hopefully that can be this season, which would be a massive boost, end quote. The analysis is clear. Coleswell is progressing but is not close to returning. A possible return this season would be a boost to a Chelsea side that needs quality defenders, but the timeline remains uncertain, and Rosenior is wisely not putting pressure on that return date. On Dutch defender Joral Hatto, the message was simple and direct. Joral Hatto has been top since he has been at the club. We absolutely trust him, end quote. Short, unambiguous, a clear public endorsement of a player Chelsea believe in. Now we get to the question that every Chelsea supporter wants answered. Is Liam Rosenior going to be the manager next season? The picture that is emerging from multiple reliable sources is nuanced. Here is what we know for certain. Fabrizio Romano reported the following, quote, "Liam Rosenior's job is safe at this stage, with Chelsea protecting him. It is a results-based industry, so we do not know what could happen in the next weeks and months. But for now, there is nothing," end quote. So as of right now, the club is backing him. There is no sacking imminent. But let us go deeper, because there is more context that shapes what that statement really means. A source close to the situation added the following analysis, quote, "If Chelsea are to stick to their position, then Liam Rosenior will stay next season. But we heard Potter was the long-term plan. Pochettino would be given time even on a shorter-term contract, and the same for Maresca. who was not supposed to be judged until this summer and then went beforehand. For now, Rosenior is safe. It will be important for the project and finances to get Champions League football. There are also a lot of managers set to be available in the summer, but I am not led to believe as of right now that Rosenior is in any trouble. For now, Chelsea are backing Rosenior, but I think all parties are going to wait until the end of the season, at which point they will have more data and time together, and then we will see what Chelsea decide to do. It will be a surprise if they change yet another manager. However, there are high expectations this season and in general from the Chelsea hierarchy. End quote. The analysis on this is crucial. Chelsea have changed managers multiple times in recent seasons. Graham Potter, Mauricio Pochettino, Enzo Maresca, and now Liam Rosenior. Each time there was a stated commitment to giving the manager time, and each time that commitment was eventually broken. The pattern is real, the history is documented, and the source above is essentially saying, right now, Rosenior is safe, but the club has said that before. The end of the season will be the true test. What saves Rosenior right now is a combination of factors. The club does not want another managerial change mid-season. The Champions League is gone, but the FA Cup and a top four push are still alive. And sacking a manager at this moment would cause more instability, not less. But make no mistake, if Chelsea finish outside the top four and exit the FA Cup early, the pressure on that situation will increase significantly. Champions League revenue matters to this club's model. Rosenior knows that, the club knows that, and every match from here carries weight. And now we arrive at the story that has genuinely alarmed Chelsea supporters this week. Enzo Fernandez and his future at the club. After the PSG defeat, Fernandez was asked directly about whether he would be staying at Chelsea, and his answer was not the reassuring one fans were hoping for. The situation is that Chelsea's hierarchy and those close to Fernandez moved quickly in the hours after those comments to control the narrative. Ben Jacobs reported the following, quote, I think the Chelsea hierarchy and those close to Enzo Fernandez have stressed in the last 12 hours that some of the comments have been translated out of context. And rather than saying, I do not know, dismissively and therefore massively opening the door, the feeling from the Enzo Fernandez camp is that what he meant to say and felt that he did say in his native tongue was more that the focus is on the next 8 games and the FA Cup rather than who knows what is going to happen after the World Cup. That said, my understanding is there is a possibility that Enzo Fernandez leaves in the summer because the player would be open if the right club comes calling. End quote. The analysis here is layered. First, the clarification from his camp is the standard damage control response, and it may well be accurate. Translation and context genuinely matter, and it is possible his words were taken out of their intended meaning. But then comes the second part of that statement. And the second part is the part that Chelsea supporters cannot ignore. The player would be open to leaving if the right club comes calling. That is not spin. That is a source close to the player confirming that the door is not closed. Now, here is where it gets more serious. It has been reported that there is a 99% chance Fernandez leaves Chelsea. Manchester City have registered an interest. Saudi Arabian clubs have shown interest, but that route is not currently seen as one that would attract him away from Stamford Bridge. The club most likely to attract Fernandez, according to what is known, is Real Madrid. And Chelsea, who signed him for a club record fee at the time, would not let that happen cheaply. The reality for the club is stark. Letting Enzo Fernandez leave when he is playing his best football would be a sign that the project is genuinely starting to fail. This is not a fringe player. This is the central midfielder Chelsea rebuilt their identity around. And if Real Madrid come calling with a serious offer, Chelsea's ability to say no has never been truly tested. As was noted, the owners are proud of the fact they have never sold a player they did not want to. But their resolve over star-level players like Fernandez, Cole Palmer and Moises Caicedo has never been put under real pressure. That is the honest truth. We do not know yet how they will respond when the biggest clubs in the world come with serious money for their best players. However, Chelsea's public stance is clear. An exclusive report confirmed the following details. Chelsea are insistent they have no intention of losing Fernandez and are preparing a record-destroying new contract. Sources indicate Chelsea are willing to go beyond £400,000 per week, including bonuses, surpassing the £325,000 per week that Raheem Sterling received during his time at the club. Chelsea see Fernandez as a central figure in their long-term rebuild. The report added that while Fernandez is open to the idea of Real Madrid and would naturally be attracted to moves to Paris or Munich, he is not agitating for a transfer and has made no formal push to leave. Chelsea privately acknowledge they have not yet matched his ambitions on the pitch, but remain confident that with 2 or 3 key additions, They will be in a position to compete for major honours again. They want Fernandez at the heart of that next phase. And their stance is unequivocal. Enzo Fernandez is not for sale, and they are prepared to put one of the biggest contracts in world football on the table to prove it. The analysis is this: Chelsea are willing to pay, Chelsea are determined to keep him, but determination and the player's own desire are two different things. The offer of £400,000 per week is a significant statement of intent. But if Real Madrid come in with a project that matches Fernandez's ambitions on the pitch, money alone may not be the deciding factor. This is the central tension that will define Chelsea's summer. One final piece of context worth noting is where Chelsea actually sit in the global picture right now. According to the Opta Power rankings dated the 19th of March 2026, Chelsea are ranked 9th in the world with a rating of 92.83. Arsenal are first at 100, Bayern Munich are second at 98.32, Barcelona are third at 97.09, Paris Saint-Germain, the team that just eliminated Chelsea, are fourth at 95.95, Real Madrid are fifth at 95.87, Manchester City are sixth, Liverpool are seventh, Internazionale are eighth, and Manchester United are 10th. The analysis here is interesting. Chelsea are 9th in the world by this measure. That is not a bad position. That tells you the squad has quality. But it also tells you there is a meaningful gap between Chelsea at 9th and the clubs ranked above them, including the team that just eliminated them. The work needed to close that gap is real. It is not insurmountable, but it requires the right decisions in the summer window, the right managerial stability, and critically, keeping hold of the players who make this squad competitive. So let us bring everything together, because here is where Chelsea are right now. They have just suffered the worst aggregate defeat in the club's European history. 8 goals conceded across 2 legs, a record that nobody wanted. The manager is safe for now, but his future will be decided by what happens between now and the end of the season. Champions League qualification through the Premier League is the stated priority. The FA Cup is still alive. 8 league games remain. The team leaks have been dealt with internally. Young players like Sarr and Hato are being backed publicly. Colwill's return remains uncertain, but is possible before the season ends. And Enzo Fernandez, arguably the most important player at the club, is at the centre of a transfer saga that will define the summer. Chelsea are offering him an unprecedented contract, but Real Madrid are waiting. And the 99% departure figure, if accurate, is the number that should concern every Chelsea supporter most. The evidence suggests this club is at a genuine crossroads. The decisions made in the next 3 months on the pitch in the Premier League and in the offices at Stamford Bridge will shape the next chapter of Chelsea Football Club. This is not the end of the story, not even close, but it is a critical moment. And on this channel, we will be here every step of the way, covering it with the depth and the honesty that this club's supporters deserve. Thank you for watching Maya on Chelsea. If this analysis gave you something real, subscribe and share it. Leave your thoughts in the comments, and I will see you in the next one.